Okay, we talked when we were reading the story that this week we're talking about problem and solution. So we're going to work in the workbook now, and we're going to go to the story that we usually tear out. So that is on page 239. So if you tear out that story and then fold the paper, we'll be looking at the story, which is Good Ideas. And on the front, we see a picture. We see a picture of a man. We see a picture of a stove and a pair of glasses. So we're going to find out by reading the story who this man is and what the stove and the glasses have to do with this man. And once again, we're talking about a biography. Biography, we said, is the story of somebody's life written by another person. So, reading the story. Anyone can invent. Ben Franklin invented a stove and glasses. But even kids can invent. Here is one true story. Okay, so if you're wearing glasses, you have him to thank because he is the one who initially invented the glasses. Also, the stove that you use. Remember before we saw pictures of days ago where they would have a pot over a fire in the chimney in the house, or in the fireplace at the house, and they had a pot that sat there over the fire to cook on. Well, he's the one that invented the stove, and his name is Ben Franklin. So turn the page, and it says, KK liked winter. She liked to play outside, but her hands got so cold in the snow, she wanted to spend more time in the snow. Okay, so what's her problem? Her problem is that she likes to play, but she gets cold. Okay, so she needs to take some steps to solve her problem, and she needs to find the solution. So on page 3, it says, KK had a good idea. She made a fleece cuff, but it did not work too well. It still let the snow in. So you see there on her hands, she had a fleece cuff there, but the snow went in. So that was the first step, making the fleece cuff. Let's see if she was able to solve her problem. KK made some changes. The cuff worked much better than before. Soon lots of people wore her cuff. KK's idea was a hit. Okay, so she did some changes. So first step was she made a cuff. Next step was she made some changes. And what was the solution? It worked and other people wore the cuff. She made a hit. Okay, so this is a little bit about KK. The first was just a little bit. Now I said it was a biography. Well, it was a biography. It told just a bit about him, but he did not tell a lot about his life. And this told a little bit about KK and her idea. So let's look in your workbook on page 241. It says to read good ideas, what we just read, then write problem or solution next to each sentence. So what are we going to be writing on these blanks? Either the word problem or the word solution. If it's the problem, we write problem. If it's the solution, we write solution. Okay, KK's hands got cold in the winter. Is that a problem or a solution? Well, that's her problem. Having cold hands is a problem, isn't it? So we're going to write problem on the line. Okay, KK made a cuff. Is that the problem or the solution? Well, making a cuff's not a problem, so that is part of her solution. That's the step that she took to solve her problem. So that's part of the solution. So we write the word solution. How do we know how to spell solution? We look right up there. Okay, the cuff did not work well. Is that a problem or a solution? Well, that's another problem. If it doesn't work, then it's a problem. KK made a better cuff. Is that a problem or a solution? Well, she's solving the problem. She made a better cuff. So that's a solution. Once again, watch your writing. Make sure your letters touch the lines. Make sure your ends have sticks on them. Okay, it says work with a partner, read the passage. Well, you can practice reading that and time yourself. Read for a minute and see how many words you can read. And then do it again and see if you read more words. But you have to take off. Every time you make a mistake, you have to take off points for making a mistake. Okay, now we're going to turn to page 246. 241, let's go to page 246. And this is about the same story. It says on page 2, the author tells about so here, instruction says, read the good ideas, think about how the author used problem and solution. Write problem or write solution to complete the sentence. So we're going to be doing the same thing we did before. So on page 2, the author tells about the problem or the solution. KK liked winter. She liked to play outside, but her hands got so cold in the snow, she wanted to spend more time in the snow. Is that a problem or a solution? Well, the problem is her hands got cold, so that is a problem. Make sure your P has the tail below the line. Your R has a stick. O is a whole circle. We do not start at the bottom. We start below the line and come up. The B has the stick first, a whole circle. L is a tall letter. E touches both lines. M has a stick, goes all the way down. And I said touch both lines, but I did not really touch that line, did I? Okay, on page 3, the author tells about KK's. Okay, on page 3. She had a good idea. She made a fleece cuff, but it still did not work too well. It still let snow in. So, on page 3, the author tells about KK's. Well, first it talked about the solution, but it also talked about a problem. But let's put a solution here, because first it was telling about a solution, making the cuff. Make sure your letters are touching the line. Make sure your U has a stick on it. The I stays below the dotted line. Only the dot goes above it, and it's a dot, not a blob. Okay, complete each sentence with details from the story. Okay, first one is, KK's problem is that, so we go back to the page, is that her hands got cold. Okay, so her problem is, okay, this is the first part of the sentence, so we don't need to start with a capital. KK's problem is that her hands, leave space between your words, make sure your letters are touching the lines, hands got, leave space between the words, got cold. We could have put in the snow, but I did not leave enough space on mine to put that. I should have written it closer together, and I could put in the snow. Okay, KK solved her problem by, what did she do? She made a fleece cuff. Now, she had to work on it and make it better, okay? So she made a fleece cuff. So KK solved her problem by making keep the slanted sticks below the line, making arm's getting tired, so just a minute. Making a fleece cuff. Leave space between your words. And how did I know how to spell it? Because it's right there in the story. She made a fleece cuff. Okay, but here when I wrote KK solved her problem by made a fleece cuff didn't sound right. So by making a fleece cuff, I had to change that a little bit. Okay, and that is another part of our problem in solution.